Good morning. Now that you're all paying attention. Good morning, everybody. Or afternoon or evening or whatever it might be. For you,
Happy
wherever
time
it is
zone.
that you are.
Happy time zone. Everyone's awake now. Roberto Bo is saying he's definitely awake.
Yep. We aim to please around here. So,
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning, Sebastian.
Good morning, folks. How's it
So,
going?
we're so glad that you're back.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
can't get enough. Yeah.
I saw you're bribing me to come back as you actually sent me
Oh,
a mug.
yes. Yes.
So I have to use it. So I guess I had to be back. So I'm
have to
here.
use
I'm
it.
here.
You
I'm
have to
here.
use it. You can choose to use it.
It's my favorite one, by the way. It keeps my
nice.
coffee warm all day.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that, by the way. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
man,
And I'm
seriously. You come to
it's
the
a-
show, you get it.
that's for everybody that wants to come to the show. A free mug is waiting for you. Just so you know.
Or a water bottle, like you don't
Or-
have to.
or-
Or
yeah,
a water
true.
bottle, right?
Yeah. So,
And stickers.
so
You
my,
can get your
so
Yes. Yes.
it's Valentine's Day on 2 days, I guess, here in the U.S. My son, they have parties at school, right, for all the kids.
I know, yeah.
So my son's teacher is there's a diplomatic way to say this. She's not terribly pleasant, and
Is that the diplomatic way? Man, I don't want to hear about the non-diplomatic way.
I'll get my wife in here. She'll give you the non-diplomatic rundown, but. No, she's very rigid, which doesn't really work well with like 6 and 7 year olds, but whatever. Anyway, so they had this Valentine's Day party and they all took bags of stuff, right? So they got little bags for all the kids with candy and stuff. And my wife just made one. Like she asked my son, like, what do you want to give your teacher? And he said, just give her a bag. So she's gonna get a pencil and some M&Ms, which whatever. But so they were at Target a couple days ago, and he saw this. It's a Reese's. It's a football shaped heart. Or sorry, it's a heart shaped football,
Okay.
and it's got loaded with like a dozen giant Reese's cups. And he's like, I have to get this for my coach, for his gym teacher. So this morning I said, well, do you want to give it to him like when you get there, like because he's out there helping kids get out of the cars and stuff, and he's like, no, I want to take it to class first. I want my teacher to see it so she knows she's not getting it. So he's going to go in there with this enormous heart, and it's not going to be for her. It's just, I don't know. Like, we of course don't encourage him to be, like, unpleasant towards her. We're like, look, she's your teacher, so she's unpleasant to you. You got to still have to be nice to her. But anyway, so I have a suspicion that's going to get fairly interesting, but. Anyway, whatever. They'll be out of school anyway soon because of COVID. So one quick note before we get going, because I know Christos has got a lot of news for us, and Sebastian's got some good news for us. You may have noticed the opening page had some other stuff on it, notably the Get Help. It's an extremely dense slide, and it has a lot of stuff on it. We'll be updating that soon. But
The traditional Microsoft manner. That's how we do our
yeah.
slides. Dense.
yeah, I mean. It's amazing. Like, honestly, I can only imagine like the object DOM of a PowerPoint presentation. It's got to look like a node modules folder because there's so many objects on a Microsoft slide. Like, I've had laptops like get hot running a 3 gig PowerPoint that marketing sent out or something. You're like, how am I supposed to show this to people? You try to open it on your phone, and 3 days later, like, your phone's slow for 3 days. You have no idea why. And then this PowerPoint presentation opens. You're like, oh, yeah, I wanted to see that 3 days ago. Anyway, if you need help, there's a link at the top of the screen, aka.ms/45show/help. That will connect you to Microsoft Q&A. And we have engineers out there who are there to help. So if you have issues, concerns, of course, you're always free to reach out to us and join us in the Discord. But if you need help, and if you want help from our team and from the team in general, the broader identity team, they are out there and they are monitoring questions that get put in. So please make sure you get your questions out there. If you hit any sort of snags or if we don't respond fast enough. So So that link's up there at the top. Use it judiciously and make sure you get your questions in. And somebody will be back with you very, very shortly to get your questions answered. So, Mr. Skass, what do you have for us today in terms of news? Oh, your shoulder was covering the mat part. So.
Okay. Word from the streets, the news segment today. I have a few things to talk about. Two super exciting things that I told JP this morning. He could barely contain his excitement. Are the new roles that we have for Azure AD. So now you have authentication policy administrator role only that allows you to manage MFA settings, manage auth policies, and manage password protection policy, but it doesn't allow these users to manage the user's auth methods. So that's been in demand for quite some time, and now we released that role, so it has very specific permissions. And same for domain. Where is it? Domain name administrator. That's another role that was in high demand. And as you can see, JP is so excited. You do have some sound for that, don't you, JP?
You know, honestly,
go for it.
The level of excitement is off the charts. Hang on, I'm waiting for it.
You're waiting for it. It's coming. There you go.
I'll get excited eventually. Anyway.
Well, you know, I have to say that
It's
you went
cool.
to the gym this morning and you're tired. Maybe that's why your reflexes are slow. You know?
Hey, you know what? Somebody needed it, and I'm glad that they have it now. So
There you go.
I'm
Somebody
glad those
needed
new
it.
roles. I'm glad those new roles exist. So
Yes, a very nice recap from the Azure SDKs team about the work that was done in 2020 around all the new SDKs that we put out and all the features that they cover. They also give a nice information about what's to come. So if you want to have a read about it, we'll make the link available down in the description on our YouTube video. So make sure to read this one. You know, I use the SDK quite a bit, so I'm always excited to read about this news. Let's move on to some general security stuff, right? Check this out. With one update, there's an app that does barcode scanning. I don't know who's scanning barcodes these days, but apparently this app is very, very popular. And
hang on. Hang on. How long of a discussion did we have about QR codes less than a month ago?
Very long one. Very long one.
Now you're telling me you don't know who scans barcodes. Well, I know at least one person who's on this right now.
I am producing the barcodes. I'm not scanning them.
That's obvious.
Fair enough.
That was obvious after last time.
Roberts 2727 says we scan barcodes. Ticket entry to Ball Arena.
See, there you go.
Is the Ball Arena on? Open? Anyway, please do not install this app because that specific app carries malware and managed to infect over 10 million users. So that was, I don't know, man. Android Marketplace always freaks me out with security. Next one. Who here uses a Plex media server? JP, you use a Plex media, don't you?
I do, and so does AZ Wildfire.
Oh, you summoned him, of course, but they managed to find a way to hijack the startup process for Plex because it sets up a UPnP service, and that is vulnerable to attack. So your Plex server can become a DDoS node and launch attacks from there. If you do have that, then I think there is a patch that is going out, and you also need to block some services here, right?
Okay.
Port 32414.
Okay.
Next one is a tool for managing your social media accounts and remove toxic content. It was an enterprise tool that Centropy launched. It's a startup that started about a year ago. It was aimed for the enterprise, but now I think they also have a consumer service trialing on Twitter. And in effect, it uses machine learning and natural language processing to detect toxic language and deal with it before you have to deal with it, in effect. So it has some automation rules, probably blocking users and muting words. So it's an interesting service. I think it would do lots of good. I don't tend to see lots of toxic stuff on my Twitter because I have a very specific bubble of content that I check out. But yeah, does it detect? Roberto Bull says, does it detect people about talking smack about QR codes? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably you can add it as a toxic word there, right?
I'm curious how that works because like does it like report or block tweets like before you see them like in the app, or do you have to like use their app or something? Like I'm just kind of curious how that works. It's super neat because if there's anything the internet has plenty of, it's abusive, toxic language, and it'd be great to. I'd be curious how it works so that I mean I don't know, you know, like you go off and you go to Reddit or Twitter or whatever, and people are ganging up on people and saying stuff they really shouldn't be saying. And it's pretty gross, and it's just pretty unpleasant. And I mean, at least for you and I, we do stay in relatively sanitary bubbles on the internet,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yeah, true, true.
it's a bunch of tech people, and for me, like a bunch of sports people, and you know, like 'cause that's the only way I
Very
get
small
updates.
subset. Yeah.
So I don't think you and I are. You and I are
targets.
not the targets in terms of the volume of abuse and the. So I don't know.
Yes.
It'd be kind of interesting. Think it'd be kind of interesting to know how it works.
Bolt.io says it's a load of if statements, so don't fall into the AI pitfall. And I bet there's some regexes in there as well. So, God. And what's next? Microsoft is actually. Oh, that is exciting. Even Satya tweeted about this one. There's a new programming language for Excel called Lambda, and it's Turing complete. So next PowerPoint, and we're done. You know, we add Lambda into PowerPoint, and you have a Turing complete system, which means that you don't have to write C# code anymore. You can just write everything in Lambdas in Excel. How about that?
That would be amazing,
Hey, so
right?
so there was one other issue. I can't see your last links. I don't know if that other link has this, but and Fuel Snabble picks this up.
Okay.
He mentioned this, or they mentioned this in the Microsoft Developer Channel, and dependency confusion. I don't know if you saw a couple days ago. There was somebody released a big write up about essentially like let's say you've got like 5 packages in your Node project or your whatever project. If you've got 5 package references and 3 of them are say private, so they only resolve for you. If
I
those
saw
names,
that one. Damn, we
yeah.
missed it. Sorry, yes.
If those names aren't registered in the public ones, and somebody else goes and publishes them, somebody else goes and publishes with that exact name, then you'll pull code down. And the article about it's fascinating, especially how the guy exfiltrated the data because he used DNS queries to do it, because DNS is not blocked in most cases. So it's pretty fascinating. And so Fuel asks what how do you do library identity? And it's kind of like, I mean, my brain immediately shoots to things like, signing the packages essentially with a public key. But then you get into like, how do things like open source projects, like I know that like strong name signing and stuff in .NET, I know that's been like a big pain for a long time with open projects because who has the key, and I don't know what the right answer is. And yeah, signing is hard. And I have one more question.
We do hashing for JavaScript libraries, right? When you download a JavaScript library from a CDN, there's a hash that validates its accuracy. I wonder if something similar could be done for NuGet packages or NPM packages, where you have a hash that identifies the content and the author in one go. But you're going to say something, another question. Sorry, I interrupted you, JP.
Well, I have one other question. It's more of a curiosity of mine of what people use. One of my buddies is trying to debate between ultra wide and just a normal larger monitor or multiple monitors.
Who was that?
David.
Okay.
So what do you use? You used to use an ultra wide, right?
Well, I have an ultra wide for 90% of my workloads when I work and I have to edit documents and emails and stuff. It's fantastic. I don't think I could go back into a dual monitor setup because I liked my ultra wide so much. However, I found that setting in meetings and in general streaming, did not work well. So I also have a 4K monitor on the side here for a 69 ratio, and I use that one for setting screens most of the time, which also means that it leaves my ultra wide as it is, and I can have all my windows open. So I use this combination, which I love.
That's a lot of screen estate, right?
It's
Like,
not,
is that a 49-inch ultra wide or?
it's a 42, I think, or a 43. Can't remember.
That's-
It's not a 49. I wish I could get a 49, but it was like $1,100. I'm like, I'm not spending that. But I'm thinking about getting another 4K on this side over here. So that will be like screens all over the place. I mean, you should see JP. You got what, 4? How many do you have, JP?
I have 4 plugged in.
Yeah, there you go.
Plugged
ran
in, and there's like
I
2
ran out of-
extras. Not plugged
on the
in.
standby.
Just
No.
Always
I've
ready.
mentioned this. We've mentioned this before. I had 2 at home. I had 2 at work. I have no work anymore because of COVID, so I brought everything home. And I thought, well, I'll put up 3. Maybe I'll use 3 monitors and see how that goes. And I was like, wow, I really like this. Like, I can have stuff over here, stuff over here. And then I was like, well, I've got this 4th one, so you might as well. And so I put the 4th one up. And then around the same time, I had a 5th one that I was using separately. And so I used that plugged into a different machine, but it's on the same mount that the other ones are mounted on. So, actually though, I don't really use the 4th one very much, but 3 seems to be like a really sweet spot. Like 3 works really well because I've got like messaging and music and stuff to my left, and like the thing I'm debugging or something on the right, and it works. It works
Yeah.
pretty well. So.
Yeah. Man,
I'm a
I
fan.
can't work from a single monitor laptop anymore. I don't think I
Oh,
could
no.
go back to it.
absolutely.
We've
not.
got this interior designer, and she's trying to help us decorate to build an office upstairs so I can see the sun occasionally. And she's sending us these desks and pictures and stuff, and it's like there's a desk in the middle of the room, and it'll have like, of course, they all have like Mac. What are the Mac all-in-ones? I can't remember what they're called.
Yep.
What's that thing called? iMacs.
The iMac,
iMac.
yeah.
They all have iMacs with wireless keyboards and mice, and literally no wires coming off of the thing. So it's like, yeah, well, that looks great, except for that it's not plugged in. And she was like, well, could you just use a laptop? I'm like, I am not sitting like on a laptop all day long to work and sitting at a desk. Like, that's fine if I'm like on an airplane or something, but I don't know.
Well, I'm surprised that she didn't put these iMacs that are $64,000. You know, the one on the wheels that looks like a cheese grater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Your
looks
office
great.
needs to go with that because, quality.
Because it's beautiful.
Yes.
So my argument against ultra wides is I need Windows to snap to, and I know there's stuff like fancy zones and all that
They
stuff,
snap.
and
They snap.
and B, I cannot stand it when somebody shares their screen with me and they have an ultra wide monitor because I can't read anything on it, because now I get a sliver of their window like this, or you have to say, hey, could you just share a window? And 99% of people are like, I'm sorry, what did you just ask me to do? I have no idea what you just asked me. So then you end up not being able to read their screen anyway.
The one thing I regret for my current setup is not getting a adjustable desk. Because my wife got me this amazing wooden, like proper desk, and it's fantastic. It looks great, but it doesn't adjust. I like to work standing sometimes, so there's no standing option here, which I hate.
Well, yep. We got a question from Damian Bowden.
Hey, Damien, welcome back, friend.
Hello.
He's asking, what's the best way to get role assignments for a user or group using Graph? Well, I'll tell you what. We are releasing code today that addresses that. But I'll go ahead and I'll put a link in the thing anyway.
Yeah, we'll put it.
Actually, and I think this code might be a little. Oh no, this code isn't old. This code is good. You want to use the app role assignments. You want to use the app role assignments hanging off of the resource, I believe. So the service principal, hanging off of the user in order to get that. So because there are 2 different ways to get it. You can start from the service principal as the root, and then get to all the assignments from there, everything that's assigned to the service principal, or you can go from the user and find everything that's assigned to the user. So Anyway, but we're going to be publishing out all this code and stuff later today in the show. So
Yep.
cool.
2 more things and we're done. Oh, in fact, it's one last thing. Although I do have something I want to say. So this one is Microsoft to add nation-state activity alerts to Defender for Office. So it extends the capability to Defender for Office 365, which should be fantastic for enterprises, and it's great. So again, there will be a link for this one. I love the fact that we're extending security. Individual users probably don't have to worry about so much, but as an enterprise, you probably need to worry about it. Which brings me to the thing I wanted to say. I was reading the other day, I think on Twitter, that somebody got an unsolicited email asking them if they wanted support on their upcoming project with details. That email had more details than he knew about the project he was working on. It was an internal project. And somebody, that was scary because a lot of security experts jumped into that. Apart from the fact that it was an unsolicited email, the idea that they knew more about the project and the timelines that he knew, and he was the lead of the project, really created some kind of a noise there, considering like how did they have that information, how did they collect that information, and how were they able to reach out to him. So,
well, you gotta send me a link to that.
I will find it on Twitter and send it to you because I was like, oh, that's scary stuff.
Speaking of though,
nation states,
Man, that's crazy.
It is.
Similarly, I saw where somebody deployed an Ubuntu image on Azure and then got an email from Canonical on LinkedIn, of all places, saying, hey, I noticed you just deployed an Ubuntu server on Azure.
Damn.
I'm looking at that like, what? I think it was a marketplace image. I think that's why, because it was like the Ubuntu Canonical one. But, whew. Yeah, that was, I was reading that like, I'll be your point of contact for all enterprise things related to Canonical. And it was like, whoa. Yeah. So that was...
says that he saw that thread as well. So the guy was right flipping out. I mean, every security person that commented on that thread was like, that is unacceptable. Like the fact that you can have people eavesdropping and listening and actually monitoring internal projects is just scary. Just goes to show that security needs to be applied in layers, and these days no one is secure. Actually, if you become a target, you're a target, one way or another.
Well, I mean,
right?
Yeah,
that's scary.
I'm done with the news. So should we move on to our next segment with Sebastian there patiently waiting for his turn? We're going into the giraffe stuff. That's our new segment. That's what we call this segment. I hope you like it, Sebastian.
Giraffe, I love it.
Giraffe stuff. We dedicated a whole segment to you guys. You have.
I thought I had an intro or like a I don't know, like a video of.
It's coming.
You'll have one. You'll have one soon. It's going to be called Giraffe Staff.
Yes. And we're gonna need your mascots.
You're the giraffes. You're the giraffe staff.
I don't know if you've ever seen one of our teammate Nicola when she wears this.
Yes.
I can't say I've ever seen that.
I'm working on getting one. So next time I might have it with the ears and everything. It would be great.
We definitely expect to see that next time.
Okay.
So JP, you need to switch screens, my friend.
Oh yeah, good point. Thanks for the heads up. All right, let's get.
We're still working on our transitions.
Yeah.
I
because
honestly
the video was not there.
I almost wish we could. I almost wish we could hire like an engineer, someone just to deal with OBS, like to do scene transitions and the like. So here's the only problem: is both of you. I see both of your screens, like they both look identical. So I don't know if you're like
the one with the mouse. Go ahead.
I will stop saying mine because I think that's
okay.
Right,
I'm
going.
I think we're good now.
I'm going.
So much for okay. Anyway, all right, Sebastian, take it away. All yours.
Cool. Well, glad that I can join you guys again. Super happy. There has been a couple of cool announcements in the last couple of weeks regarding Graph, and I wanted to kind of touch on some of them. The first one is we are working really, really hard on getting our SDKs to be upgraded to the latest and greatest of every single tech that we support. One of them went into a public preview last week, which is the Java SDK. That reminds me of the good old days when I was doing Java at school. Vince, which is one of the devs on that team, is one of my good friend, and I was reviewing his code, and I was like, I don't understand anything in there. But like Java really evolved from the last time that I actually looked at it. So there's a public preview right there. We have a full GitHub kind of issue that was created, like to give you all the details about how you can upgrade, how you can leverage that. It basically makes the Java SDK really, really, really great. I think it was probably not that super amazing before. Now we really gave a lot of love to the Java SDK. We have lots of customers and partners leveraging Java, so we wanted to give it a kind of a first-class citizen experience in the Microsoft Graph. So the guys have been working really hard. There's really good stuff happening there. So that's kind of the first small thing that I wanted to touch on today. So if you want to do a preview of that, just go on and follow all the instructions, and you're going to be able to find all of this.
And talking about Java, thanks for mentioning that. We put out a survey yesterday on the MSAL for Java library.
Oh, nice.
And I will add the link below. If you guys can take 5 minutes and provide some feedback, that would be fantastic. So you have Java for Graph, and then you have Java MSAL working side by side, and we want to make sure that you have everything you need. So I'll put the link. Please take some. It literally takes 5 minutes to provide some feedback. We would love for your participation. Thank you.
And even if you don't, use MSAL, or if you don't use any of our authentication stuff, it's for Java developers in general. So
yes,
please, if you get 5 minutes, take a sec, and if you're writing Java, take a minute, take the survey.
That's amazing. What a great segue, right?
Yeah, man. Like we were working together.
It looks like that.
It's totally planned that way.
Yeah, exactly. Second thing that happens, which is something I wanted to highlight from a community standpoint. So there's a huge community in the M365 umbrella and all that kind of stuff. And we have one of our MVPs that is an Office Dev MVP that created. Last time I joined the show, I showcased the Graph Toolkit, basically creating regular HTML with like graph integrated and all these cool UI. So Tommy, which actually was a previous colleague of mine back in my old days, created something amazing for Graph Toolkit, and I wanted to show you. So let me do this. I guess I can find it at some point in one of my 265 screens. Let me do this. There you go. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go. So Tommy created a cool extension. It was meant to be initially a SharePoint kind of helper to do stuff in SharePoint, but now it just exploded to everything M365. So if you install an extension called the SP Editor, you can see it here top right actually. There in your Edge or in Chrome, you actually get a SharePoint tab. We don't care about SharePoint Word for now. But what you get here is an app. And there's a really cool intro telling you that what you're going to do with this is super dangerous. So it's really meant for dev. Don't do that in CRUD or whatever. It's amazing. But there's now an MGT React playground. So think about this as being, you're going to be able to actually see React like in live. So if I go here and do div, I do a hello world, and I just do that slash here, and I just control. Oh, wait a second. Why is that? Oh, yeah, there you go. I need to add these things here. So there you go, and I have a hello world, and I sit on right. But what is even cooler than that is when I go here and I say, hey, I want to see a people picker. Then I can go here, and then you can start working with this guy here. It automatically updates it here. You can select your people. So basically you can just play around and build your UI connected to Graph. It takes 0 seconds. You don't even have to create an Azure AD app. You can leverage the one that is multi-tenant and already created. So I really think this is absolutely awesome for prototyping stuff with the NGT. So big shout out to my boy Tommy and his work there. That's super useful, and I think it helps everybody to play on the React playground. It's
That's
really cool.
lovely.
It looks awesome. I love it. Although one
it
thing,
is.
I will say
Yeah.
one thing. Please don't reuse that client ID. For testing, okay, cool, but go create your own client ID, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I don't know who created that client ID, and that client ID is going to have access to your directory. So
yes.
go create a new
Please.
one. See,
Do know.
it's just the graph identity difference.
Yeah, I
But-
definitely agree with that.
But I mean, for prototyping, sure, why not? Or
Yeah.
or consent in somebody else's tenant. Then it doesn't matter. But in a dev tenant,
That's exactly it, and it's always like do that on a dev environment. Never do that in prod.
yeah.
Or just provide your own client ID here. You can
Yeah,
do it
just use
also.
your own, which would also be helpful for, like, depending on what kind of permissions you need or whatever.
Yep.
Would also be helpful for people figuring that out, right? Of, well, I need this permission, and this one in order for the people picker, for example, to work.
Yep.
And yeah, because if there's anything we know, it's that a lot of admins have consent way super locked down. So
Yeah, absolutely, and we see that a lot. And actually, here, if you plug into a tenant, you won't get like this is not an app that is app like publisher verified or whatsoever. So you might not be able to do all the things you wanted to do here. So
yeah, this is awesome.
Good,
I love it.
that's a good warning, though. Last thing I wanted to focus on today is it was a kind of I wouldn't say a slow month, but not that much announcements on the graph side of things. What is probably in the M365 space, when we look at our feedback from our partners and customers, this is the biggest request that they've had for a really, really long time. So one of the biggest areas of M365 is SharePoint and Files and OneDrive. And now it is possible to assign an app from an app permission standpoint to access just one site. Before you had to do it through, like, I don't know, kind of service accounts or whatever, which were not the right way to do it. Now through Graph and app permissions, you can actually pinpoint a specific app, which is great, a specific site, which is one or multiple sites, which is, I think, really, really cool. What is even better is that the way that you actually grant access to this site is also through Graph. So when you do a post on the permissions of a specific site, you can actually grant access to your app. And this is how you actually get your app to be able to write or read. Both are possible on this specific site. How it actually works, there's a new scope that was created. So if we go right here, let me do this for a second. Let me go here. There's a new scope that was created from the sites namespace that we have here. So before we had the full control, the manage all, the read all, or the read write all, which was basically, if you have one of them, you can actually read at least everything that sits in SharePoint and OneDrive, which is not necessarily great.
Wow.
So you have access to everything. When it's your own tenant, yeah, maybe you're kind of mitigating risk here, but definitely you should be granting access to your app to specific areas that you want the app to access. And now we have a new one that is called Sites That Selected. Teams has something similar with their resource consent, resource-specific consent, or RSC. SharePoint is a similar approach here. And in this case, when you select this Sites That Selected and you were granted the right permissions on this site, then you can read the content of this based on the role that was specified right here. So the role that is applied right here. So I know that was a huge team effort between the Graph team, the SharePoint team, and the Identity team to make sure that everything works flawlessly. That is a first step in the journey of Site Selected, or RSC for SharePoint, or whatever we call it, because this is only app permissions for now. So basically, whatever you have, you give consent to that app, and the app will do everything. But now we're also the team is also looking at delegated permission. So in the context of the user being able to only access certain areas of the site or of the API, which I think is a great way to kind of start pushing for moving to Graph for SharePoint content instead of doing straight calls to the SharePoint APIs. I think the Graph API has a lot to offer here and gives you access to everything else. So those are the news, right, guys, for the last couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Ignite is coming up, so there's going to be a couple of great announcements there. So that's probably why, like, the number of announcements is going down for now, kind of keeping the hype, keeping everybody on the front of their seats, making sure that everybody freaks out when we we release everything at Ignite. So
Yes.
there you go. There you go.
Well, thank
No,
you
I
for
like
coming,
this.
Sebastian.
Hang on. I like this.
Oh,
I like this last one here. So this is it's app only permissions for now. Now, with sites.selected, it is it's purely opt in. Like if I haven't made this call, for example, I'm not going to see anything, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So fullcontrol.all or read.all, those still work the way they do today, which is you get all access to everything. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So it's either you have access to everything or you have access to a thing or a set of things. The team is also working on the other way around, for instead of granting access to everything you want, but revoking access to specific sites. So that way you could work kind of the other way around. Think about, like, I want this app to access everything except the super secret site.
Nice.
That's so the other way around. So they're also thinking about that for the next couple of iterations of this. We had the Graph community call last week, and there's a full video on that if you want to go and see. Jeremy Kelly, which is the PM on that capability, is basically really uncovers very candidly the roadmap that is coming up with the SharePoint site collection level permission. So
Yeah. Make sure that you share the links with us after the video, and then we'll add them to the description below on the YouTube channel. Hey,
amazing.
That was brilliant. Thanks for coming, my friend. And I think we're doing a recap of Ignite after Ignite. So if you missed the live announcements, we'll have you back again anyway.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
And you got to come back and tell us everything dressed as a giraffe.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of changes in the next call. I'm going to make sure everything happens. That might cost another mug, but hey.
What are you gonna start? You gonna start selling them on eBay or something? Are we gonna have to go,
definitely. There's a lot of money.
Oh yeah, it's in a high demand, right?
It's a new version of drop shipping.
Do you know what a hammer is?
Oh man! All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming and hanging out with us, and we will have these links of the stuff that Sebastian shared. We'll have these links up later today.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
Have a lovely day.
Cheers,
Cheers, guys.
Sebastian. See ya.
You're welcome. Have a great one. Cheers.
Bye. Okay.
Just the two of us.
Now it's back to. So
Do you
these
have
are
a soundboard for that?
Today is today we have very special guest in that it's just the two of us. We have no guests today. Well, I mean we had Sebastian, of course, but Sebastian is not really a guest when they come that frequently. You know what I mean?
No, they're still they have their own special segment. Remember, we decided to be more structured about things. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So cool. So
exciting stuff. Stuff.
So there's one thing that came out of something that came out of Discord this morning. If you haven't joined the Discord, then please join the Discord. But so there's something that came out this morning from GA Crow about using B2C with a group of about using B2C and allowing people to sign in with just usernames and passwords, but also letting them sign in with their Azure AD account if they already have one. And we talked about this a little bit a while back. The net result of that is a combination of two things. We have something called Azure AD multi-tenancy, which allows anyone in the Azure ecosystem allows anybody in the Azure ecosystem to the Azure AD ecosystem to sign into your app, and then we'll use that as an identity provider to B2C. So on the first side of this, we'll get a GitHub repo up here. Actually, there is not a GitHub repo. There's an actual formal document on this, which is Azure AD B2C with Azure AD as the identity provider. And this will walk you through getting that set up. And we'll put this link here in the chat here in just a minute. So you'll notice there are two in this list. We have Azure AD single tenant and Azure AD multi-tenant. Single tenant means I just want people from my org to be able to come and sign in, which is useful if you've got an app that's 99% public, but you want your business people and support staff to be able to sign in using their corporate accounts. Mm-hmm. If you want to do corporate work with lots of customers, like if a lot of your customers are organizations or are potentially organizations, that's when you have to get into Azure AD multi-tenancy. And the Azure AD multi-tenant side is going to give you the whole Azure AD ecosystem, so anybody will be able to sign in with an Azure AD account. Plus, B2C is sort of the shim there to give you social, Facebook and Twitter and stuff, and local accounts. So you can only do this right now with custom policy, but we'll get this link up here. GA Crow, so you can go take a look at it. And then, again, feel free to join us in the Discord. That's where this conversation came up. That's how we had this conversation. Feel free to join us there and ask questions and get help from us and from your peers, too. So there are lots of other people out there who are happy to help, like Bolt. Bolt was out there this morning, too, talking. Because luckily for Bolt, it's not morning for him. So anyway, this is the first place to start, and what this means is you'll have to register an app in some Azure AD somewhere. Now, that could be one that you already have. We've seen some folks register this app on the Azure AD side of their B2C directory. I have not yet tried that in a production thing. I don't think it would be a problem. I'm not entirely sure why it would be, but typically when I'm doing this from a separate directory. So there's some separate directory that is, corp or whatever you want to call it, which you can go create a new Azure AD directory for free. And that is where that multi-tenant app registration lives. So it lives off in some other directory. And then we've got a bunch of policies and things. We've got policies published that'll walk you through getting this set up. And then we've got a bunch of other stuff that bolts on top of it if you're interested in taking a look at that.
Yep.
So that's where I would start, GA Crow. And instead of having to add one to add an IDP for every single one of your partners, every single one of your organizational customers, you add this once, and that one thing, that one app registration is the thing that can get it going, that can get it back in, right? So that anybody can sign in, not just everybody. In fact, I've got a picture of this, so bear with me for a second, and I will pull it up. And hopefully that'll make it at least a little bit clearer, because I know this has a tendency to get a little, what's the word, Christos?
Confusing?
Huh?
Confusing?
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it. So I'm pretty sure I got a picture in here. So I'll pull this picture up, and then we'll go on to what it was that we were working on otherwise. So here we go. So this is Azure AD multi-tenant apps. This is what they like, kind of how they look. But you'll notice that this single app registration gives you the entirety of this ecosystem. So it's not just a single one. It's not just a point-to-point type of a federation. It's more of a one-to-many federation. So by having one app registration that's marked as multi-tenant in your directory, anybody from any place can come and sign in. So I thought I had a photo.
Bolt is saying that you're taking dark theme to the next level, which is true. We love dark themes, right?
And then on the B2C side, the way that B2C works is B2C kind of acts as the central identity proxy for all these things, right? So B2C is the thing that lives in the middle. Your apps only know about B2C. They don't care about all this other stuff over here on the left. They only care about B2C. That's the only thing they even know about or trust. And B2C acts as the thing that lets you pull pull in social users, pull in net new usernames and passwords for people who don't have anything. Some customers even allow their big their big customers. You could even federate their own identity infrastructure if they're not using Azure AD, but they don't want to use usernames and passwords, but they've got ADFS or Ping Federate or one of these one of these brokers up. That broker could sit up near the top and be a third identity provider to B2C. So yeah, and GA Crow we'll be happy to help in Discord too and get you set up. So you could even try it with the B2C directory that you already have. But if you don't, it's relatively straightforward to create a new one. So you just have a new one strictly for that one purpose.
Hey, thanks for the follow, Ginny Moses. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hope you're enjoying this.
Okay. Did I put this link in there? I did. All right. So I did. So we got a couple new things to do together. Some housekeeping we got to do today. So on Tuesday we talked about how we're going to publish some code, right? So we
announced we announced our new exciting project.
Yep. So we announced, and today we actually have 3 projects that are going out there. One of them's like the big, super exciting one that we're all excited about. The other 2 are things that, I mean, they're all exciting in their own way. That's probably safe to say. So there's
in their own special way. I like it. Like, think about your kids. They're all good in their own special way.
In their own special ways. So it's github.com/45 show. This is where all of our projects are going to live from here on. So if you want to go back and find data about an old show, from today on, this is the place to find it. And it's also where we're going to have some projects. And we would love for anyone who'd like to contribute to these projects to absolutely be free to come out and contribute to them. So these are all MIT licensed. They're going to live in this repository. They are open for anybody to contribute to. Put in pull requests, fork the repos, put in pull requests. We're going to review some of them on stream. We'll merge back in. And so what we're going to do today is get these published. And we got a few sort of things that we want it to do. We've got 3 of them right now. We've got the 425 bot. And the 425 bot is the channel points thing, which at this point really just needs to be published so that AZ Wildfire gets off my back. So we have the 425 bot. So if you want to go out there and add some ridiculous channel point things, you can do that. We have B2C app roles, and B2C app roles is something that hey DT in the cloud. Now you missed Graph. They were here for a little while this morning, and other than that, it was just us talking. Which, I mean,
and the news, but we will add links to the YouTube video so you can catch up later.
We've got B2C app roles. This is a project that's all about using app roles in B2C, which of course is not supported out of the box. And so this is actually a couple different projects. This is going to be one project that handles resolving those app role assignments. So when a user signs in, we're going to go fetch all those app roles and stuff them into the token. And there's a whole doc here on what it is and why it's here and why it's set up, right? There are even pictures. I forgot I put pictures in here. So these are pictures of how this is going to work.
DT in the cloud says stupid work. What's stupid work?
I know. That's why he's busy. That's why he just got here.
Oh, that's why he missed it. Sorry, didn't realize that. I thought he was talking about our work being stupid. I'm like, no, that's exciting. Why would you call our work stupid?
So this project's all about authorization. There's a second half of this that we haven't even started yet, and the second half of this is all about a portal, an administrative portal, where administrators can come in and assign users to those roles. So we have that for sort of like a global administrator type. But if you think of say you're in the scenario where you are selling SaaS software, you're a SaaS provider, you're a Box.net or Dropbox or somebody like that. If you are that provider, your administrators would have those kinds of rights, but your customer administrators wouldn't. So if I work for, Joe's Muffler Shop and we want to use your super SaaS, super sassy SaaS, I guess. If we want to use that, you could now make me an administrator so that I can bring in the rest of my people. so that I can invite the people that I work with and give them rights and give them roles and do all that sort of stuff. As opposed to having to put in a ticket and wait for a super administrator to do it.
So you need a role to manage roles. How about that?
That's right, you do. It's sort of like roleception. It's roles all the way down.
Yeah.
So there's a whole portal that we're going to be working on that lets those people come in and lets the global or super admins assign that. Essentially, we're calling it the application administrator role, and they're going to be able to. They will then be able to search for people only within their organization and assign those people to roles within the apps that they're allowed to use. So I think it'll be kind of cool. It's really intended to be kind of like a starter project. So It's got all the pieces. It's got all of the code that you need to do it. The expectation is that you would take it and you would white label it. You would bundle it into your solution. You would, extend it and turn it into something that matches your solution as opposed to just being like an off-the-shelf kind of thing. But again, we would love any sort of, especially like if you've got scenarios that we haven't covered, if you've got issues that we haven't covered or things that you're running into that you think this would help solve, be sure to let us know because we want to make sure that all is sort of accounted for in here.
There will be work items for both projects, so you can follow up the work that we do and assign to each other. So there will be full visibility on the roadmap.
And so the other side of this, the other thing at least I wanted to mention was I am not some sort of like open source veteran, so I haven't contributed to a ton of projects just out in GitHub. A few, but nothing major, and never really did anything super massive with it. So part of this is going to be me learning how to be a good citizen and doing this. And for anyone who wants to figure out what it means to contribute to open source or for learning how to do it, like just the tactical side of like, well, how do I create a pull request? How do I do these sorts of things? We're going to be covering a lot of that too. So that as we review pull requests, how do we merge them in, and how do we decide what goes in and what doesn't, that sort of thing. So very warm, very welcoming, very inclusive. We will not Stack Overflow you here. So if you are making an attempt to contribute, we will do everything we can to use your contribution and give feedback if there is. Give feedback if there's.
I wonder if we should get somebody from the .NET team. They've been doing it out in the wild for a while. Like Landworth, they've been doing a lot of work with the open source community, and they've learned from their mistakes as well. They've done a few mistakes, which I think will be useful for us to maybe get some insights from that team.
Yep.
So hold on tight while we're setting that up as well.
And then, of course, the big one, and the one that we're going to look at some today, is the VS Code extension for Azure AD. So this is something that we started working on 9 months ago. We then stopped working on it.
Yep.
For
a
8
good
months.
Reason.
We stopped working on it for a few months, and then we decided
September.
to come.
Are you saying September to February? That's not 8 months. That was 4 and 2. So 6 months.
I'm looking at the initial commit, I guess, which was 9 months ago. Well, that was actually yeah. So anyway. This is an extension for managing app registrations in VS Code. The reason for that is I think like when I'm in VS Code and I'm doing work, right? There's some things that I want to be able to do, like registering an app would be really quick and easy to do straight from VS Code. If I don't have to go to the portal to do that, if I don't have to go to the portal to say copy my client secret, copy my client ID for the 98th time because I didn't put it in Notepad or whatever. Maybe get like some code snippets or do some code gen to like generate me a config file that's got all that in there that MSAL is going to be expecting. Maybe add MSAL to my project. All those sort of things that are pretty disruptive to your workflow. We want to make those better, right?
Yeah, Visual Studio had widgets that have been doing that for you for some time now, and we thought VS Code should not be left out.
Yeah.
No ID left behind, right?
Yep.
So what we're hoping to achieve here is some kind of a wizard that guides you through your Azure AD experience without you having to leave and context switch between the portal and your ID.
Yeah. So this project's out here. We're going to actually come in here and put in some projects with some sort of next things that we want to do. But let's take a look at what it does so far, right? We'll start there. So because right now it's essentially a shell. Right now it's a shell that authenticates. Authentication has been a what's the best way to describe it? Authentication's been probably the hardest part of this so far. It has not been, obviously there's new stuff to learn about how do you build an extension and things like that, but compared to what it is for the, compared to what it's taken to get the authentication working, it's just like, this was quite difficult. So anyway, let's go ahead and get it fired up. Oh, hang on a second. My editor's got an update, so it's all screwed up. Okay. We gotta fix nothing like a theme that causes your VS Code installation to appear that it's corrupt. Anyway, okay, so let's just run this, see what we get. So this is the same code that's out in
45 GitHub repo.
Yep, this is the same one that's out there. So F5 for the 90th time. There we go. And we'll have a new one open up.
Inception.
So it's building, and it's all TypeScript. So it's if you're doing C# or anything, it's maybe kind of somewhat familiar. So the first thing you'll notice over here, this is something that Christos was working on, which I thought was really cool, which is there's now an Azure AD node over here on the left side. We'll zoom it in a little bit. So here's an Azure AD node. So when we click this node, there's now a login with worker school button, right? Now, I'm already signed in. So because it's a local app, because it's running locally, we can store things like refresh tokens locally. Now, I haven't run this in about 4 or 5 days, and it's still fine, which is great because that means that my refresh token is there. So these are the apps
14 days by default, isn't it? The refresh token?
Oh, they're much longer than that. Much, much longer. Yeah. Depends on the app type, but for the most part, some of them can go on into perpetuity. Usually they get revoked because something happened.
We have some new friends. Christopher from Brazil, welcome to the stream. Mr. Code's Eyes, hello to you too. Thanks for joining the stream.
Yeah,
We're
good
going
morning.
through our new VS Code extension.
Yeah, what's the current time in Brazil? It is 2:02, so good afternoon.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Christopher 180199. Glad that you're here. So this is it. This is all it does. You know, I don't know if I want to learn any words in Portuguese. My grandmother's from Argentina, and my suspicion is if I say any of them around her, she'll probably turn red and hit me. But anyway,
obrigado mean please?
I don't know what it means. What does it mean? Does it mean yes? Is it affirmative? So anyway, so this is it. This is all it does right now. So we get a list of apps that are registered in a directory, and it signs a user in.
Things. If you expand them, they don't have. You can actually view it in the app registration. I've wired that up. So proud of myself.
Yeah. So I guess we can view it in the portal.
Yep.
So I'll click View in Portal, and it says, "Do you want code to open the external website?" Sure, we can open that up. And it's going to open it up and go to a tenant that I don't have the correct permissions in. That's okay. And we'll go take a look at it and see what's going on. So here I am at this specific application because I'm not signed in with the right account. But yeah, so that'll be an interesting one that we have to solve. But at any rate,
yes.
I was working on a logout command the last time I was working on this because I wanted to be able to log out and re-log in. The nice part about it, well, for starters, to test
change
it,
tenant,
but
maybe, right?
Maybe we want to change tenants. I think that's going to be the big thing, right? Which is the tenancy. That's one of the biggest problems we see a lot is, well, I'm signed into Azure with tenant ABC, but maybe that's like we want to do this with B2C, right? I want to be able to do this to get the same experience with B2C tenants, and so I think the big thing we want to focus on is how do we do this with multiple tenants, where my cache is full of tokens from various tenants, and we just have them all sort of stacked up, right? We have you can choose different ones, whatever. So that's where we sit today. If the biggest changes, we're using Memento storage, which is local storage for VS Code as a way to have persistent thing, and there's an MSAL cache that's in here, and then we're using Node. So we're using the Node MSAL, which is still in preview, so it's still a bit early, but by the time this gets released, it'll probably be, or it should be available. So we've got all of
alpha, and we like to live dangerously. If you haven't figured that out for us yet.
Yep. So we're doing a login. The login's going to open up the login's going to pop a window, and you're going to sign in. You're going to come back to VS Code, and you're going to be done. So this is the way the code sits today. It's relatively straightforward, but again, because it's out there, please feel free to go out and start contributing.
Well, before you start contributing, we need to put the work items out there because we need to define the minimum viable product. We also need to define how to run it, and we also need to define how to. We'll have all this information over the next couple of days. If you have any ideas, make sure you put them into the work items or issues, so that will give us a guidance of how would you like to use it and make the tool a success.
So, and we need to get our channel points deployed, as everybody's told us.
So,
It's told us
Christopher.
1,000 times. Sorry, Christopher. So in the VS Code for extension for Azure AD, there are a few things that we kind of know that we need to do and know what we need to define, and I think some of those we're just going to start putting into issues. So that anyone who wants to go out there and pick some stuff up can, right? So we have a spec, but we probably won't publish the spec specifically, but we'll just publish the kind of work that needs to be done. And that seems like the best time. Does now seem like the best time to do that? You want to take a quick break and then we'll do it, because I got to go get something else to drink.
Yes, take a quick break and then we'll start bringing the issues here. Sounds good.
All right, we'll be back in 5. See you in a minute.
Yep.
All right. Oh, did you get your package today, by the way, Christos? You're supposed to get a package today.
It says by 9 p.m. and the weather is awful. It's currently snowing outside. I mean, by snowing, I mean like flurries of snow. There's nothing decent here, so hopefully by the end of the day. I can't wait to open that box. Maybe we should do an unboxing next week, next Tuesday for that. Can I wait until next Tuesday for the box?
I doubt it.
I can. No,
You've
no,
waited
I
a
can
week.
Wait. I can wait. I can wait. Oh,
You've waited a week on an overnight package.
More than a week.
I got it
I'm
a
not
week
telling
ago.
you.
I'll say that much.
I'm not telling you what it is because I want to do the unboxing on Tuesday.
Okay. So anyway.
Right.
Okay. So
Yes.
we're gonna create some template issues or some issue templates so that you can put stuff in yourself. So that's under settings for your project, and then we've got set up templates right under issues, which is super straightforward. And luckily for us, these are kind of the two the two main ones that we need. So we'll
Correct.
start with feature request, and that's probably where we're going to be starting. So the template that we have. So let's see. Suggest an idea for this project. Okay, is your feature request related to a problem? That seems like a good question to ask.
It is.
Describe the solution you would like. Alternatives you've considered. And any additional context. So alternatives you considered, that seems... I guess that's okay. A clear and concise description of any alternative solution. So yeah, so I guess if you're like, I can't do this here, but I'd like to do it somewhere else.
Yes.
Or I can do it this other way, then that would be good.
Well, I
And
can't do
then-
it in the extension. I have to do it in the portal, and that's how you do it. Maybe that's that becomes a pointer for us to do this. Yeah, I like it.
That'd be a good... Yeah, that's a good alternative. So then the default title... I guess
That
we
should
should
be
put
a feature request.
put in feature in here. And then labels. Labels would be useful. So let's see, what labels do we have? We've got bug, documentation, duplicate, enhancement, good first issue, help wanted,
Decline.
invalid. Won't fix. No repro.
Can't replicate. I love it.
So I guess this makes sense to be an enhancement. So yeah, so we'll do that one so we'll label that as enhancement. So that all looks good.
Yeah.
And then the other kind of template we need is for a bug report.
Bug.
So when something
Absolutely.
isn't working the way that we expect it to. So let's see what the default template looks like here. Describe the bug, reproduce expected behavior, screenshots, desktop. Desktop probably doesn't really matter. Well, maybe it does. Smartphone definitely doesn't matter since there's no VS Code in the smartphone.
Wait.
At least not yet.
Yeah, true. Although you could be doing it in VS Code extensions. Sorry, God, man, I need more coffee. In code spaces. On your phone.
Yeah, but you would say that in OS. Because then it's a browser bug, right?
True.
So maybe instead of OS, so we do OS, we do browser, we do version, and then we do VS Code version. So we know what version. So we'll do like EG, like 1 dot whatever. And we'll do, oops, I need a space there. And then we'll do like VS Code environment.
You also need extension version. We might have a couple of extension versions and people may not have the latest one.
We'll
Or
put
do
that
people always
here.
run the latest one because VS Code almost updates extensions as they come available. But yeah, let's keep it there.
But
If we don't
let's
need
keep it
we don't
there.
need Yep.
Browser's probably extra information. So we'll put that one down here. OS matters. So we'll do extension version first, since that'll probably be the most relevant to us. And then we've got our OS, which won't be iOS, say Windows.
Definitely not iOS. I mean, I would start with.
Well,
Windows.
isn't that what macOS is becoming?
It
I mean,
is.
isn't it just?
Have you run the
it's just-
latest version?
It's it's iOS with the keyboard bit set to true. Is what it looks
Yes.
like. Anyway, so the extension version, that'll be good to know. The OS, the VS Code version, the VS Code environment. So if your code spaces or if you're local, and then if you're using, and then the browser is actually useful because we do have to do a login, and the login does use the browser, and so it's
the built-in
possible.
Browser. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's possible
Yeah.
that something happens with the browser, so we'll keep that one in there. And then any additional context, screenshots, expected behavior, reproduction. Yeah, I mean that all looks pretty reasonable, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll call it a bug, and then the label we will use bug. Is there another one that we want? I guess nothing out of the box. So
Is
a
it
bug.
as expected? It's a feature, not a bug.
Well, that'd be a label we'd add afterward. We don't want to add a won't fix label to the bug when you do the template. So I think that's it, really. Is we have feature request, we have bug report, right? There's so many people from Brazil. Hi again from Brazil, Frederick Misantropo. Thanks for coming to hang out. We're setting up a GitHub project for people to contribute to. So we're setting up a public one, and right now we're getting our feature requests or our issue templates all squared away.
Yes.
So we got a feature request, a bug report. Is there anything else that we should capture here?
I think to start with, it's good. What are the other templates? I mean, the other ones are custom, right? You have
Yeah,
to
the other ones
get
are
a
just custom.
I don't know. I would probably leave it there and see
Okay.
as we go. Let's be iterative. Agile.
All right. So we're gonna update our issue templates. Okay. So now we've updated our issue templates. Have you ever used GitHub projects before?
I haven't.
I haven't either. So you can sort tasks, plan your project, automate your workflow, track progress, share status, and wrap up. I've never used these before. I guess
Oh,
it's
they
like
have a board.
boards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's boards. But do they pull issues in? Can I reference issues from the board?
I will be mighty surprised if you can't.
Okay, well, let's see.
Class and issue number, I guess.
So we'll call this VS Code AAD, right?
Uh-huh.
And what do we want to use? Basic Kanban, automated, with reviews, bug triage, just basic? To
I
do,
would
in
say-
progress, and done.
Yeah.
It seems fine.
Yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate things.
Yeah, okay. So let's create this project. Okay, so now we got a project. Cool.
Oh, check that out.
All right. Oh, so you can use issue filters. You can use issue filters to add issues in. So that's cool. So I wonder, do we go create the issues first, or do we?
Well,
can we
let's
them
create
straight from in here?
one. Let's create one, and let's create one and see how we add it.
So if I created a to-do here called like add logout, right?
Yes.
That's just a note. So there's no issue. Oh, you can convert it to an issue though. That's cool.
Yes.
So if I converted it to an issue, oh, that's it. But then we don't use our templates, which. So let's delete that. So let's go to the issues first, I guess.
So create one called. You should have looked at the markup inside. Ooh.
Well, let's create a
HTTP
feature
text
request.
Says you should have looked at the markup inside. But let's create an issue. Go for it.
All right, let's create an issue. Feature request. So this one's going to be add log out, right?
I'd log out to the extension. Right?
Well, I mean, it's in this project. What else would we be adding logout to?
Fine. Is this
We
dark
need a way-
theme or an extension? Dark theme. It is a dark theme for GitHub. Copyright
Yeah, this is-
GR.
Yep, this is GitHub dark theme. Yep.
It was announced at GitHub Universe in December.
So H3 Tech says we deleted the boilerplate starter issues. I would recommend creating a new project and reviewing the markdown markup inside the boilerplate issues. What are the boilerplate issues? I don't remember seeing those because there weren't any in here. We created some templates.
Oh, he did say that. Yes, I mean there were some stuff on the left-hand side that you went and deleted them.
Oh, the notes that were in the default the project
Yeah.
notes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I see. Okay, you know what? Then I think I have another one. Let me check. And we'll just go get them. Okay. Do I have a project here? No, but I'll create one here just so I've got it.
Oh, so you're gonna use this as a template. I
project.
see.
Yeah. Oh, and then they have project boards. So we'll do the basic ones. That's what we're doing over here. So then these, cards and automation. So this, so if I do an edit, okay, cool. So this gives us, oh, this gives us the markdown of those, right? Okay, that's cool. So I'll just put them over here, so we've got it. Okay. And then these are, let's see, cards and automation. Automatically move your cards to the right based on the status and activity.
That's a nice one.
Yeah. So we'll get automation sorted out here soon for how we move things around. So,
Yes.
okay. So we need issues. Let's see. So we need issues first.
Yes.
So we've got our issue templates. We're gonna do a feature request, and I'm picking log out just because it's the first thing on my mind, and it's something that needs to be done. So we need to log out of the extension. Describe the solution you would like. A log out button. Describe alternatives. Reinstalling VS Code.
Yes.
Seems it's the nuclear option, but it is an alternative. There is already a button.
Wait, reinstalling VS Code extension or installing VS Code?
I'm being facetious, but yeah, reinstalling the VS Code extension. Although I would assume that would clear the storage. So there's already a button for logout. It is not wired up. It should be. And logout really means clear the MSAL cache. So we'll have to clear essentially we need to clear the MSAL cache, right? Because it's a client app, we don't really have there's not like necessarily a browser context here. So logging out in this case really just means get rid of any tokens or refresh tokens or anything like that we may have. And really what that comes down to is clearing the cache. So is there anything else? I don't think so.
No. That should be it.
So we create this issue. So now we got us a new issue. Issue number 1, add logout. Okay. And then
Let's go into our board now and add it to the to-do list.
now can we put, I wonder as part of our issue template, can we assign it to a project? Because you notice over here it says projects none yet. Now maybe that's because we haven't pulled it in. Maybe we don't want that to be automatic.
So wait a minute. Are you saying that this issue is not assigned to the VS Code Azure AD?
Well, it's in the repository, but it's not assigned to the project that we created.
Well, because you can have multiple projects within the same repo, right?
Well, I don't think they're necessarily in the same repo per se. Like a project could be multi-repo because you could have multiple things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess we wouldn't want that to be automatically done. I don't think that would be very, like,
Nope.
we wouldn't necessarily want that to be automatic. Okay, and then where do we want to assign anybody for now? So back in our project then,
So it says awaiting triage. What does that mean?
I think that means that an admin has to come in here and put it somewhere.
Oh, we need to approve it in order to go into the Kanban board and say, yeah, we want to work on this feature. See?
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, so
I like that.
It's not added to the project until we triage and say, well, we think that this is a valid
That's
issue
cool.
or feature. Yeah, I like it.
Something that needs to be done. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now, I'm also assuming that anybody can see this project board, right? This isn't just limited.
Can you guys try it and see what
I mean,
happens?
I could also just do it in a. I'll do it in a private. I'll do it in a private window. Let's see. So private window. If I go here and look at this project, yeah, we can see it. So that's cool.
Very nice.
Okay, cool. So we have our first feature that needs to be done, which is to add logout. So let's actually work down the list of things that we want our extension to do.
Okay.
So
we have the spec, right? So the first thing is, well, we're gonna have probably an epic and then individual items below that, right? So if we say create a new Azure AD registration or register a new app, there are subtasks below that are dependent or that derive from this.
yeah, but this isn't DevOps, so we don't have epics.
Fine. So does that mean that we actually need to have the title, which is register an app, and then there is like select a name, or because that's the
Select a
action.
name. What do you mean?
A name for your application. When you register an app, the first thing you have to do is provide a name for that.
Yep. Okay. So
You know what I mean?
let's see. So we need to register an app
Yeah.
in Azure AD.
Yes.
And let's see, the user needs to provide a name.
Well, we've also got feedback that we may want to derive a default name based on the project. So one of the options would be take what the project name is and then use that as a default. And then if users want to override that, they can override it. I still like the option to be able to override the default name. If you just
Okay, so
doesn't do that.
So the default name is derived from project name. Is that like a
Yes.
folder name, perhaps?
Yeah, the project name, CSproj. Probably the folder name for. Well, we haven't clarified to people, by the way. We are doing this for JavaScript and Node applications. To begin with, the goal here is to do so for JavaScript first, and then we will extend it to other languages if there's demand. But we want to have a minimum viable product. So for that first goal, we're starting with JavaScript, and that means package.json, I guess, or the folder name. They should both work. Probably package.json makes more sense, right?
I mean, it could be, but not all of them. They may not all have a package.json, right? I mean, I guess if they're using npm, they would, but user should be able to override.
Yep.
And provide a name, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then we should derive the redirect URLs.
Oh, whoa. That's a different item. Stop. You're going too fast. That's a single work item there.
So I can register an app without a redirect URL?
Yeah, you can do that. You don't need a redirect URI when you do it in the portal, remember?
I guess that's true. Okay. So we're going to register an app with a name.
Yes.
And that's it.
To begin with.
Okay.
So, sorry, I mean, right. So it also comes down to how do we want that experience to look like. And from my perspective, I think it needs to be the guided experience that you get at the very top of the command palette. When
See,
you
for me
control
personally, I
Uh-huh.
absolutely hate that experience. I find it awful and terrible to use. But that's okay. If that's what we want to do, though, like maybe I'm an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like that could just be a me thing. That could be very much a me problem. Like if that's the standard way that you do it, then maybe that's the standard way that we do it. But at the same time, if we think about everything that goes into registering an app, right? What do we have?
We have an app name. You also need to select the tenant type, whether it's single tenant, multi-tenant, and what have you. Or if you want to also allow MSA accounts. Then we have one or more redirect URIs, which you're right, that's what we're discussing now. And we also need to define whether we want to add an API permission if this is an SPA that calls an API. So these are the 4 things that you need to do for registering an app that calls something. At minimum, you need the first 3, which is a name, tenant type, and redirect URI. If you are calling an API, that will be an optional, that's a 4th item. And then if you're also creating a Node.js API, for example, then you also need to be able to expose an API, right? So these are the 5 things that the app registration functionality should do out of the box.
So should we think
I may be
that,
missing something out. Yeah, go on.
So do we think of those as being, but do we consider that atomic? Like, I wouldn't care necessarily about scopes during creation, right? Because I would think I'd add those when I know what they are. Like, so, and
you
add
might not have them,
scopes,
right?
like, well, yeah, you might not know what they are yet if you haven't done any of that work to know what they are, to add additional scopes. So that would lead me to think that it would be more useful. What's the absolute bare minimum that we need to register the app? Like you said, right? This is the single issue. And so we need
a name and tenant type, because if it's an API, you don't need a redirect URL.
So then the two questions will be, well, this is the name we've chosen for you, and you have the option to change it.
Correct.
And tenancy.
Yes.
Do we really need to? I wonder if we just default and allow an override.
Again, that's absolutely right, but I think these are the two minimum things that you need to define.
I mean, we don't even really need tenancy, right?
We don't if we default to single tenant.
So we can start that as single tenant.
I think does not default when you create one via graph, or does it not?
If you don't provide it, that's what the default is, a single tenant. Because you can always switch to multi-tenant. What you can't switch to is multi-tenant with Microsoft accounts.
Yes, and I don't know how many scenarios like that we get.
So maybe we should start with be able to override tenancy from we'll call it a picker. Well, I don't know what a picker looks like in VS Code, but
it's the same as it becomes available in the command palette. So it's a drop down from the command prompt.
Yep. So this is the bare minimum for registering an app.
Okay, and thinking about the other things that you probably need, right? Which are not going to be part of the creation process, will be adding an API permission, as in scopes, or exposing an API if you need to create those scopes, which should be available via either command or context.
Yeah, so I would think, so we'll have a bucket for the API work. We'll have a separate bucket for APIs, either for consuming an API or for configuring an API, or exposing one, we'll call it.
You know what? I think they become individual feature requests, right? One will be add scopes or API permissions to an app, and then the other one will be expose API permissions.
Right, because
as a feature request.
Yeah, because they kind of be. I mean, there's a kind of different context. Like you're the fact that you're consuming it, like you would typically, and when you're starting, because obviously that's not the case long into it, but when you're starting, your front end app, for example, your spa or your web app, it's not going to be exposing an API. It's going to be consuming an API. Whereas your actual API may consume other APIs, but it also is going to be primarily exposing APIs. So, Yep. So we'll get the graph link in here for creating a new app.
Yep.
And then that will be there. And then let's see. We'll do a create. So that's the first one. So this is the creation one.
Yep.
So let's see. App creation. We'll get this. And then there's also app update. Since some of these may end up needing to be an update instead. And then what happens? What happens then?
For the app update, for example, if you need to add a client secret, you have to do it as an update. You can't do it as a creation step.
Yep.
Do we need client secrets? We don't need client secrets for single page apps. So is that something? Oh, we need client secrets for.
We need client secrets for backend apps, for APIs, for APIs, and also for like Node web apps.
Correct. Yes. So add. I'm just looking at the spec that we have here. Add client secret.
I wonder if maybe our projects need to be more granular. Like we have a project for app registration, and that covers all of these edge cases. We have a project for API management, like API registration and API management. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But that's okay. It looks like the projects and features are somewhat separate, so we can mix and match them. If we need to blow up our project and create another one, we could always do that. So then the next thing is going to be managing client secrets and credentials. Yep. And so
that's a good point.
We need to generate or provide client credentials. Client credentials, secrets, or certificates. Solution we would like.
That's interesting. Is that not a bit of an overloaded feature? So, like, I'm thinking if I'm working on a work item, that would be you need to add a client secret. Whereas if I were to upload a certificate or add a certificate, that would be a separate work item. You know, what you're describing here almost feels like an epic, where I need to be able to configure client secrets in general, but then we have the individual components there. I don't know.
Okay, but we don't have epics because it's not DevOps.
I know. I'm always going back into that one. So fine, let's carry on this route, and then if people have any feedback on this,
But I mean, I'm down for whatever. Do you want to start with we need to create client credentials, client secret credentials?
Yep.
Client secret credentials. Okay, so users should be able to generate a and set a client secret.
Yes.
Okay. There is no alternative except for going to the portal and creating permissions or creating. So we can add a password. So we'll put that in here. Add password, which is essentially what it is, right? It's a password.
It is.
And there we go. So there's our add password, and then of course we can also remove them. So we'll put that in there too. I guess we don't need it for this one.
So you have managing. So we need to create client secrets. So I think that create, update, or delete. Correct. Do not add a password. Just a search. It says domo. The problem is that passwords are not allowed. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, Domo, but the thing is that in certain cases you may want to use a client secret, so depriving users the ability to do so may cause problems. We obviously encourage people to use certificates, but sometimes client secrets are a necessary evil. So
yeah, I mean, we see client secrets a lot more in dev. I mean, for better or for worse. Like if it was easy, oh, it's Daniel. Now we know why. Now we know why.
Thanks,
I'll tell you what, Daniel. And maybe this is something we should put in here. In fact, So we have, you know what? I'll just create a second one right now. And
I wonder if we can automate that process, like self-signed certificates for development.
Yeah. So create, update, remove, client credential. Certificates. Yep. So, user.
You guys are already helping us steer it to the right direction.
So the user should be able to use client certificates for credentials for the app, or maybe be able to set client certificates. So I think the ideal solution would be to generate a self-signed certificate and then set the app credential to use the certificate. You know, maybe possibility to override. Not sure. Maybe the user should be able to override it if they want, but I don't know how many users are going to have certificates to start. But I do know, I was talking to one of the guys the other day, and he said the fact that creating a certificate is hard shouldn't be like, we should make it super easy for that to happen.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if we can call some library that creates a self-signed cert for the users.
Yep. And then to set those credentials,
so many points, so little things. We were talking about you, AZ Wildfire, this morning. Thank you for joining us. We have the pod almost ready to go.
We can deploy it.
Make it in 20 minutes.
We can deploy it right now. It just needs to be deployed. So
do you want to press the button, JP, and make AZ Wildfire happy?
I suppose we can. It is Friday. What better way to spend the last 20 minutes on a Friday? Add key and remove key. So we'll put these in here. Remove, remove key. Oops. All right. Oops. Can't hit Control S. We'll go ahead and put this into our project. Submit a new one. I don't know. So now, one other thing before I guess the other thing would be, I think having like up for grabs type things, right, would be good. So things like add logout, like that's probably a good first one, right? Isn't that the popular tag, good first issue?
Yep.
So put that one in there.
Up for grabs.
Okay.
A good first issue, yeah.
Good first issue. Well, that's one of the default ones. I mean, I guess we could always add one, but I mean, if it's a default one, then everybody's going to know about it. If you've been to other repos, and you will have found it. I don't think that what we're doing is so crazy that we're going to have a whole lot of custom tags or labels, at least for what people can go and work on. So we need to add logout. We need to create some secrets, which is part of registering a new app, I suppose. And then what else? What else, like bare minimum, do we need to have this go out the door? You need to get your data, right? You need to get your client ID. You need to set a redirect URL. Right.
Roberto Ball says, update README for how to run this and the feature, put it in a Docker container. No. Roberto Balls, you're very close to being banned. We're inclusive, but no Docker. I'm just kidding. What do you mean? What do you mean adding the Docker container? I'm not clear about that, to be honest. Are you saying running VS Code in a Docker container? I'm a little bit confused. I'm joking. Obviously, any idea is good idea, but we definitely need to add a README on how to run this and how to contribute. I think it's contributing.md and readme.md.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Add contributing.
It says, I don't know if it takes a bunch of dependencies. I prefer something containerized. Oh, right. So it doesn't take a bunch of dependencies. You only need to have Node.js running locally and TypeScript installed. Once you have these two, then you just launch the task. You debug via VS Code, and it launches another VS Code instance, which is your one that has the extension installed, and that's all you need. Now it makes sense. Roberto. Just Node.js and TypeScript. We'll add these so you know what you require. But it doesn't take a bunch of dependencies like Python or Perl or whatever to install to make things run like other projects.
So we need a README for how to run or test.
Oh, we need to add the unit tests, by the way.
Are you trying to get shut? Are you trying to get shut off? Are you trying to get muted? Because I'll go deploy channel points right now.
Honestly, like I was thinking the other day, I don't want to have to launch it every single time. It would be nice if I could test my graph functionality without having to launch every single time.
So documentation, good first issue. We'll tag it with those two. We'll add it to the project so that it's there. We should probably figure out what our first milestone is. Maybe we can do that. We'll do that offline. So, okay. The other things, so we need to add a logout. When we do a register, bare minimum, we need a name. Then we need to add credentials in certain cases. You had a bucket of work for APIs, right?
Yeah, I do. Do you want me to read them out?
So we'll start with select required API permissions.
Yeah.
Or maybe configure.
Yeah, the first one is expose an API or configure an API.
Well, we're kind of in client apps, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you're in client apps. So in that case, you want to consume API permission.
Which, honestly, this may not even be that big of a deal to start because of dynamic consent, right? Because you don't necessarily have to set your API permissions up front. You just request them when you need them.
True.
But we'll still have it in here at least. We'll have them in there. Have them in here at least, right?
Yes.
So, is your feature request related to a problem? Need to let's see. User should be able to configure required required API scopes / permissions on
yes,
the
AZ
app
Wildfire.
registration.
Our tasks are actually helping in digital transformation by accelerating customer adoption of the product. And we are providing a connected customer experience because people don't have to leave VS Code to go and create new app registrations. How about them apples?
Does this mean we need like a scope searcher? Because then you think about adding scopes in the portal. That's a pretty decent experience, right?
Yes, that was one of the things I was thinking when I was creating these issues. How we're going to, like, you have your own API permissions that you need to add, and you need to search for them. You might have multiple APIs that you need to search from to find the right one. And then the other one is, what about the Microsoft APIs, SharePoint, Graph, and what have you, that you need to get access to. So I don't know how that experience will look like, but that's how it needs to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that because when you're building a client app, you do dynamic consent. I wonder if right now it just takes you to the portal.
And grant admin consent. That's a good point. Grant admin consent. I like that. That will be on the client app, right?
That depends on if we have an API for granting admin consent. I guess we could always generate.
I think we do. Power apps.
We could.
No. It's Wildfire saying power app.
Well, what we could do then is we could always generate the admin consent URL.
Oh, interesting. Oh, consent how to. Daniel comes to the rescue. Thanks, Daniel. Problems signing in. Conditional access. What? Consent how to. That's. Are you? Alright. Policies.
Do we have a so we'll have to generate the link, I think, is what it looks like right now.
So we don't have an API to do that. Literally 4 links in that article. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any API. I don't see an API in Graph to do that. Unless it is
there's an admin consent endpoint apparently, so you're right.
Yeah, we just have to generate the URL. So we'll put this in here.
Do you want the link to? Do you want the link to that?
I've got it right here. Thank you, though.
Oh, that friction is on purpose. Interesting, Daniel. Thanks for the input there. On the Microsoft Developer channel, we have a question regarding data store. Give me a second. The question was about if we're ever going to do a stream around Azure Data Factory. What would you like to see, Sebastian?
I got a buddy who's working on Azure Data Factory right now. We can call him up, see if he wants to.
Nice.
See if he wants
Maybe
to jump
give
in.
him, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Or do we want a full segment?
It depends. What does Sebastian want to see with Data Factory? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know. And let us know. We'll talk to him. I know that we were talking some yesterday about the Azure government stuff and how do we like things like analysis services in Azure Commercial, but your tenants in like Office GCC, for example, and that causes issues with the on-prem data gateway and things like that. And right now, the solution is to use ETL to move them back and forth with Data Factory. So, it'd probably be a good thing to explore. Is just how do I access data that's protected behind Azure AD endpoints in particular, right? So, we could we'll put it in our queue for sure. So certain permissions will require admin consent. Generate the admin consent URL and navigate the default browser to it. Okay. Easy enough. All right. We get this one in. This should, let's see, this is probably a pretty good first one because it's URL generation. So if you're not familiar, it's a good way to get a little bit more familiar with what we've got. So
I mean, it feels like we're so noobs on this one that everything is a good first start for us as well.
we just have a bunch of work to do. We just need to go do the work. So anyway, so we're gonna finish sort of pushing these through, but Again, we'd love to have your issues, what you want to see in this extension, especially in what you need to, what you're building and what you're doing with Azure AD. And we love your contributions too. So do we have a license file in here yet? We should. I thought that we did. We don't. We need to add that too. We need to add that probably before anybody goes and actually contributes an issue.
Dito. Just go and grab an MIT. I think you can add it automatically when you create a new repo, but apparently we did not do that.
Well, we didn't create a new repo. We forked an existing one. Or, well, I just changed upstream on an existing one, but I'll add one right now.
I see. I think you can add it through there. You can select an existing one. There you go. Oh, there you go. You added it. Nice. Boom. Done.
Yep. So now we've got our license. That's good. We'll just commit it directly because there's no reason really to have to go through that. So, okay. So anyway, so we'll get our issues in. Feel free to add your own. Feel free to start contributing. And we're going to come back, and this is going to be kind of something we're going to work on for the next few weeks. So we're going to be checking in on this. Like, we've still got people who are coming to the show, and we've still got different things we're going to be discussing and looking at. But this will be something that's kind of always going on. So we'd love to have love to have your code featured. We'd love to have you featured with building a new feature or something cool that you've built or contributed, or writing some docs or doing whatever. But this extension is for you, especially if you're doing Azure AD development, or if you're working building like web apps that you're going to host in Azure or host anywhere really, but you want to use Microsoft Identity. This extension is for you to make your lives a little bit easier and at least be that identity isn't the thing interrupting your workflow, because I'm sure there are a million other things that are. So, Christos, who's coming next week? Do we have anybody? Who's coming on Tuesday to hang out with us?
Well, if you give me 1 second, I'll let you know. I don't
Probably should have given you a bit of a heads up.
Yeah, it's like, tell me now. Lunner. Oh, I like it.
Still getting there. Still loading. You got 30 seconds at least.
So we got Thomas Maurer coming.
Thomas Maurer. Oh, very good.
Azure Arc and hybrid cloud work. How awesome is that? And Thomas is a fantastic cloud advocate. He's doing great work. If you don't follow him, make sure to follow him on Twitter and YouTube. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, we're gonna get out of here for the weekend and go put in a bunch more issues. But I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend.
Yes, indeed. Stay safe. If you get snow, have fun with the snow. If you don't get snow, then still have fun on the weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
It's like 35 and raining here, so.
Oh my God, it must be so
awful
for you.
Who are we going to raid today?
That's a good point. We have Bald
Bearded Builder.
But we have Kyle Codes as well, and we may be working with Kyle Codes very, very soon. So we can raid him. James Montemagno is up. Clark IO is up. Code Rust is up as well. So we got options. What do you want?
All right.
Where are we going? Where are you taking us, JP?
You're going to find out when we get there.
Don't forget to raid with the Visual Studio channel as well. Sorry, Microsoft Developer channel.
Yeah, we're all going to raid. All
hey, awesome.
41 of us. 31 of us. Triple B is doing dev for a nonprofit humanitarian toolbox. That's cool. Yeah.
We don't follow Triple B. I don't know.
Yeah, we do.
We do?
Bald Bearded Builder. See you, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the other side.
Nice.